Hi, PerspectiveWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Wednesday, May 27th. A lot to talk about this morning. First of all, we have a SpaceX rocket launch scheduled to lift off from Cape Canaveral in Florida late this afternoon. However, there will be scattered to perhaps numerous showers and thunderstorms across central Florida later on this afternoon, so it's probably a 50-50 chance that this thing will go off as scheduled. If it does not go off this afternoon, the next opportunity will be Saturday, and if it doesn't make it on Saturday because of the weather, it will go on Sunday. So again, currently the SpaceX rocket launch is still set for 4:33 this afternoon from Cape Canaveral, but again, they'll have to watch the skies, and there will be some scattered to perhaps numerous showers and thunderstorms. Meanwhile, the tropics quite active. We have another tropical storm. It's now Bertha, formed in the overnight hours. It will move into South Carolina and produce enhanced rainfall. It will produce an enhanced rainfall for the Carolinas, western part of Virginia over the next 12 to 24 hours or so. And really the flow of air from the south to the north along the Atlantic seaboard is pushing tropical moisture all the way up along the East Coast, and it looks like it may start raining late tonight, early tomorrow in the D.C. metro region, during the day in Philadelphia, as that moisture continues to flow from the south to the north, thanks in part to a strong high pressure system off the East Coast over the western part of the Atlantic Ocean that is really funneling tropical moisture up along the eastern seaboard. And we'll talk a little bit about kind of increasingly concerned about a tropical storm or even a hurricane threat late next week going into the following weekend in the Gulf of Mexico region. We talked about this favorable positioning of the MJO, the Madden-Julian Oscillation, come the first and second week of the month of June, and it still is on track for that. And again, kind of an increasing concern for a potential hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico late next week or the following weekend. And we'll talk a little bit about that over the next few minutes here. First of all, let's start off with a satellite image from the College of DuPage weather site. You can see a lot of clouds here along the eastern seaboard, and right in this region right here is Tropical Storm Bertha. It will produce enhanced rainfall in the Carolinas, especially the western part of North Carolina, and then into southwestern Virginia over the next 12 to 24 hours or so. Again, this is Tropical Storm Bertha. Meanwhile, there's also high pressure over the western Atlantic, and winds flow clockwise around highs, and that is really just pushing lots of moisture from the tropics all the way up along the Atlantic seaboard. That will be the case over the next 2 or perhaps 3 days or so. And rain should push back into the D.C. metro region, for example, late tonight, early tomorrow, and off and on rain tomorrow and Friday for the most part in D.C., Philadelphia, New York City. That could include some thunderstorm activity, especially during the day on Friday. Then we have a cool front coming through by early in the weekend, and eventually a very chilly air mass for this time of the year will push into the mid-Atlantic region, the northeast U.S. over the upcoming weekend. In fact, the month of June begins on Monday. It looks like it'll begin on quite a chilly note in places like D.C., Philadelphia, New York City. Many suburban areas certainly will have low temperatures come Monday morning in the 40s as we begin the month of June. So a lot going on. Well, before we move on to the MJO, the Teleconnection Index, wanted to put the satellite loop in motion here just to show all this moisture kind of flowing from the south to the north. Again, Tropical Storm Bertha right in this region right here. You can kind of see a deeper cloud pattern here over South Carolina that's moving into the western half of North Carolina, and eventually heavy rainfall will push into the southwestern part, western part of Virginia. And certainly watch out for flooding throughout the western half of the Carolinas, all of South Carolina really, the western half of North Carolina, and the western half of Virginia over the next 12 to 24 hours or so. And a lot of this moisture will flow up to the north and impact the mid-Atlantic region from D.C. to New York City in the Thursday, Friday time period. Well, let's talk a little bit about a teleconnection index known as the Madden-Julian Oscillation. It's really something that tracks a tropical disturbance that moves around the globe in the tropical region. and depending on where that sets up, it can have an impact on the temperature and precipitation patterns around the world. And one of the ways meteorologists track this particular index, known as the MJO, is on a map like this that goes basically counterclockwise direction. The tropical disturbance propagates, and on here the index, the MJO index, is shown in a counterclockwise movement. The green here in this particular case represents the forecast from today forward all the way out to June 9th time period, as depicted by the ensemble run of the GFS. And once it gets through phase 8, we know from experience that phase 1 and 2, which is probably going to happen after it rides through phase 1, phases 1 and 2 this time of the year often result in active tropical weather over the Gulf of Mexico, maybe the southwestern Atlantic, maybe even the Caribbean Sea. So it's certainly moving into a favorable position later next week. June 1st is Monday, probably talking later next week, going into the following weekend. Certainly the June 3rd or 4th time frame, all the way to June 9th or 10th time frame. Watch out for the Gulf of Mexico region specifically, and that of course puts Florida on alert, maybe all the way to the Bahamas and down to the Caribbean Sea. But the favorable sign here from the MJO certainly is kind of an increasing concern for a tropical storm or potential hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico. And again, we're talking late next week or the following weekend into the early part of the second week of the month of June. Well, let's now walk through the operational run of the GFS model at 6Z last night. First of all, Tropical Storm Bertha here, just along the South Carolina coastline, moving to the northwest at a relatively slow speed, about 9 miles per hour. Watch out for heavy rainfall, flooding potential all across South Carolina, especially the western half of North Carolina and into the southwestern part of Virginia over the next 12 to 24 hours or so. Let's move forward here. We'll see, there's the heaviest rainfall, the western part of North Carolina, southwestern Virginia by later today going into tonight. Notice this isobar pattern here. There's high pressure off the eastern seaboard over the western Atlantic. Winds flow clockwise around high pressure, and this is all pushing tropical moisture from down near the Bahamas, the Caribbean Sea, all the way up to the north along the Atlantic seaboard, and that will result in rainfall for the D.C., Philadelphia, New York City corridor in the Thursday-Friday time frame. Perhaps will clear out for much of the upcoming weekend as that chilly air mass arrives over the upcoming weekend into the mid-Atlantic region, northeast U.S. Let's move forward here. There's the remains of Tropical Storm Bertha all the way into far western Pennsylvania by early tomorrow. And on its eastern side, it'll no doubt be a very, very humid day on Thursday with, again, tropical moisture all along the eastern seaboard. And that will result in certainly in an increased chance of showers, maybe embedded thunderstorms. First starting in the D.C. metro region after midnight tonight into the early morning hours, and then by early morning in Philadelphia, maybe later tomorrow into tomorrow night in the New York City metro region. Really the entire eastern third of the nation will be in this very, very moist air mass. By the way, the moisture kind of sits in the Florida region, and they do have that threat of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon, tonight, and tomorrow. Even though Bertha is off to the north, residual tropical moisture will increase the chances for showers and thunderstorms during the afternoon and evening hours, both today and tomorrow. Let's keep moving forward now into the day on Friday. And we still have that threat of showers and thunderstorms in the east here as a cool front starts to approach. And here is a Canadian high pressure system as of Friday evening in south central part of Canada. And this has quite a chilly air mass coming to the mid-Atlantic region, the northeast U.S. for the second half of the upcoming weekend into the early part of next week. Now the question is when that front comes through. It looks like it may come through early Saturday morning, paving the way for basically a cool, dry weekend in much of the mid-Atlantic region. If there are showers, likely would occur early Saturday and then get out of here. And definitely Sunday and Monday look pleasantly cool for this time of the year in places like D.C., Philadelphia, New York City. Maybe highs no better than 70 degrees, which is actually quite a bit below normal for this time of the year. Look at this, Saturday morning, cold enough for snow with this air mass up across the Hudson Bay region of Canada. Let's move forward here. And here we go. By Sunday morning, cold Canadian high drops into the upper part of the Midwest. Quite chilly air mass, and we could have temperatures dropping into the 40s in the suburban areas along the I-95 corridor region late Sunday night, early Monday mornings. And Monday begins the month of June. It looks like, again, it will begin on quite a chilly note in much of the northeastern quadrant of the nation. So a lot going on. We have that SpaceX launch still on for later today, but the weather is probably going to produce a 50-50 chance of success later today. Again, if it doesn't happen today, the next shot will be on Saturday, and after that, the third shot will be on Sunday. Tropical storm Bertha produces significant rainfall for the Carolinas and the western part of Virginia and all along the Atlantic seaboard. Very moist tropical air will enhance the chance for showers and thunderstorms on Thursday and Friday in the mid-Atlantic region. That's it for now. For PerspectiveWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.